Coming up, the bar keeps getting raised. Literally, in some cases, more than a dozen new platinum marks were set in the past week. Alex Hyder is here with the details.
Every team has an ace pitcher, but which top of the rotation guys really stand out? I'll give you my list of the top pitchers in South Dakota.
All that plus a fresh batch of power rankings and a look at the spring sports forecast. All of that and more coming up right now on Varsity Sports. And hello and welcome to Varsity Sports alongside Jason Andera. I am Jay Elson, and we have got a full show once again this week.
Well, you alluded to it a little bit in track and field. Some special things going on, and we're not even at the halfway point in the season yet.
That's what's crazy. Alex had planned on going to the Black Hills for the Track-A-Rama, but of course, Mother Nature changed his plans a little bit, as she so often does this time of year. Anyway, Alex, where did you end up?
Well, not in Rapid City, unfortunately. Rain and snow and temps in the low 40s on Saturday forced that meet to be postponed to Tuesday, April 26th, but thankfully, conditions were much better on the eastern part of the state. That allowed me to still make a trip west on I-90, albeit a much shorter one, to Mitchell. It was the 68th running of the Corn Palace Relays Saturday, and the weather cooperated just enough to get this thing in. Lots of great performances, starting with the Class B ranks, where the defending State B Boys champs Platte Geddes were in attendance. They made a solid impression on the day. The Black Panthers would finish second behind Roosevelt in the Elite 4x8 relay. They win the Class B medley also in come-from-behind fashion over Burke South Central. Alex Gerlach and Alex Dahm, a big part of what looks to be a strong title defense. Speaking of which, the reigning AA girls track MVP Jasmine Cooper looking to retain a few titles of her own from state last year. She's well on her way this spring. The super sophomore from Sioux Falls, Lincoln would win the 459 seconds flat that trails only Courtney Dowling in the AA ranks this year. She'd also anchor the Pats to wins in the medley and the 4x4 in times that put Lincoln atop the AA standings in each event. Really a big day for the Patriots in the field as well. How about Izzy Van Veldhuizen, the Augie basketball commit, would win the shot put by over 2.5 feet and put up a new platinum mark in the discus at 136 feet 6 inches. Not a big shock that she is your AA leader in both categories. Then there's Michaela Moore. The sophomore wouldn't best her platinum leading mark in the long jump, but she still gets the win in the event on the day at a solid 17 feet 6 inches. She also rips up her elbow in the process. Man, that looks rough, Michaela, but she is a track athlete. She comes right back moments later, and she wins the Open 200 in 26.71 seconds. Speaking of tough kids, good to see Dan Armstrong of Roosevelt back after injury had slowed him down to start the campaign. The Rough Rider senior would take the 800 in 2:02. He'd also run a leg on RHS's winning 4x4 team at the end of the meet. The big star of the day, though, how about Paul of Harrisburg? The Tigers senior and Mount Marty recruit continues to impress as he sweeps the sprints over the likes of Bariona Ferrula of Lincoln and Anthony Bachmeyer of Aberdeen Central. Paul's best mark, a 49:31 second time in the 400. That lowers his platinum leading time from a few weeks back by 0.6 of a second. Great stuff from the Harrisburg senior. Fast forward to Tuesday afternoon for the Beersford-Alcester-Hudson Invitational. Some top Class A and B talent on display, including Tri-Valley's Brady Johnson. He had the top shot put through in Class A coming in at 49 feet even. He nudges that mark forward by an inch, going 49-1 here for the victory. On the track, where if not for Macy Hines of Ipswich, Josie Wolf of Chester would be the most decorated Class B girls athlete in the state. The reigning 100-meter champ holds the top spot in the 1, the 2, and the long jump, and she had a big Tuesday for herself, winning the 1 and the 4 and anchoring the Flyers to big relay wins in the 4x1 and the 4x2. She's going to be one to watch come May. The other big-time track performance of the day came from Sioux Falls Christian's Caleb DeWeerd. The Charger senior already had the top Class A 1600-meter time at 4:31, but he would go way lower on this day. DeWeerd crosses the finish line well in front of the pack, and then watch this reaction when he hears his time. He goes 4:22.8 to smash the meet record by over 20 seconds. That doubles as the best mark in all of South Dakota this year, regardless of class. The main event of this meet, though, was Parker's Zack Anderson. 3 days removed from reaching 7 feet in the high jump, the senior had his sights set on breaking the state record of 7.2. But after clearing 6.3 and 6.5 with relative ease, the wet conditions proved too much to overcome. Anderson would miss at 6.9 on 3 attempts. He, of course, would still win the event, though, as well as the long jump and the triple jump to earn him meet MVP honors. We'll have a lot more on Zack's pursuit of 7 foot coming up later in the show. All right, time now for a quick look at our Platinum leaderboard, where we're keeping track of the best times and marks across the Dakotas. Not surprisingly, we've had a lot of changes from last week, 13 in total. Let's start on the track, where outside of Paul lowering his 400-meter mark, the only difference on the boys' side is in the long-distance events. Leif Everson of Williston, Gabe Peters of Lincoln have taken over the top spots in the mile and 2 mile. That 4:18.97 from Everson at the Dwayne Carlson invite last Thursday, particularly strong. That's just 4 seconds off the Platinum winning time of a year ago. Not much change on the track, but lots of shakeups in the field. 4 new faces on this list, headlined by Alex Talley of West Fargo. He puts up the top throw in the shot and the disc at his home track on Thursday, and then he signs the throw at North Dakota State on Monday. Not a bad week for Mr. Talley. To the girls' track Platinum leaderboard, where the only change this week is the 2 mile time. Kelby Anderson of Century put up that 11:03 at the River City invite last Thursday to consolidate her hold as the top distance runner in the Dakotas. There's a big chase pack, though, in both the mile and the 2 mile, including Carly Ackley of Grand Forks Central and Jasmine Cooper of Sioux Falls Lincoln. On the field side for the girls, Izzy Van Veldhuizen loses her platinum place in the shot put to Akili Moten, but she gets the top spot in the discus instead. Nice little trade-off there. And finally, shout out to Rachel Schumacher in the high jump. The senior's 5.6 mark from the River City meet equals the top jump in the Dakotas from all of last season.
Thank you, Alex. Stay tuned. Lots more to come here on Varsity Sports. Coming up, Jandy's going to share his list of South Dakota's top pitchers. But first, Alex is going to be back to help us break down one of the best high jumps in South Dakota history.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
When I walked on and I got that 6'10", I definitely felt it in there, going 7 foot, and right when I got over that, I was just immediately thinking 7'3". I've been looking at that stat for the last, who knows however many years, ever since I started high jumping. And it was definitely awesome to get to 7 foot, but 7'3" was definitely in my head that whole day.
Well, high jump is one of track and field's most exciting events to watch and one of the hardest to master. To that point, only 9 high school athletes in the Dakotas had ever cleared the 7-foot barrier in the event. At least it was 9 until this past Saturday. Alex Heinert's back with us now to talk about the 10th to join the 7-foot club in the Dakotas, Zack Anderson of Parker, who we just heard from a moment ago. Alex, Zack cleared 7 feet at the Jesse James invite in Garrettson on Saturday. So how big of a deal is this?
Well, it's huge. I mean, as you said, 7 feet and above is rare air for high schoolers, especially in the Dakotas. It had only been done a total of 13 times in South Dakota by just 5 individuals in the history of the sport at the high school level in this state, with nobody clearing the 7-foot mark in 24 years. You'd have to go back to Jason Sutherland's 7-1 effort at the state meet in '92 for the last time a South Dakotan had pulled off the feat. It just doesn't happen.
Well, and I'm guessing that's why Twitter blew up when it did happen.
Yeah, for good reason. I mean, to do something no one had done in a quarter century merits that kind of hype.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Zack now. He's a senior this year at Parker, has committed to jump at USD next season. You said in our preview show that he'd be one to watch this spring, but did even you expect something like this out of him?
I mean, honestly, no. I mean, 7 foot, again, we just talked about, is such a tough mark to reach. He was the 2-time Class B high jump champ. He won a gold medal at state last year, but 6'7" was his best coming into the season. That's a huge jump to go 6'7" to 7 foot. It's so impressive what he did. A phenomenal performance on Saturday, and much more to come we can expect.
Yeah, indeed. The first, by the way, to hit 7 feet in South Dakota was a guy by the name of Scott Benson. He did it for Rapid City Stevens. He cleared 7 feet and above, a record 5 times in 1988.
Yeah, Benson still has a share of that state record at 7 feet, too. He's now the head track coach at St. Thomas More, a guy that's still very much involved with South Dakota athletics. I called Scott yesterday just to get his thoughts on the 7-foot plateau in South Dakota and why this might just be the start for Zack this season.
You know, that 7-foot barrier is that's the big mental one. And especially, as a high schooler, you haven't really seen anybody do that. Once you hit that 7-foot barrier, I think the door's open to PR again and again here in the next couple of weeks for Zack. He is just incredibly fast off the ground. His ground contact time on his takeoff leg is incredible. And the one thing that I noticed in the 6'10" jump was just his positioning at takeoff wasn't very good. He was behind his takeoff foot, and his head was going back towards the bar before he even hit the ground. And from that meet to the 7-foot jump, I didn't see that anymore.
That's pretty high praise from the best in state history. We've got more from interviews with Scott and Zack in podcast form. Be sure to check that out on the Midco Sports Network podcast on iTunes and our website.
Well, it's on that note now that we'll jump into this week's edition of the Acceleration Zone. Not surprisingly, I understand it's a high jump themed week that you've selected, or Mark that you've selected for this week.
That's correct. It's a high jump week. It's a bit of a stretch, but
not?
Scott Benson, Nick Johansson of Miller have the boys' record in the Dakotas at 7'2". The best girls high jump all time in the Dakotas, Lexi Whitmire of Rolette Wolford, who went 5'10" at state 2 years ago. If you convert those things to inch form, that's 156, which will convert to seconds. That gives us 2:36 on the clock.
Carry the 2, and here we are. Works for me. I don't care. Whatever. The gun is up. Here we go. Other than Zack Anderson being awesome, which he is, give me your top takeaways from the week that was in track and field.
Sure. I've been really impressed with the boys squad from Grand Forks Red River. They had a great showing at the Red River Central Duel this past Friday. 5 different athletes moving into the first or second spot in the North Dakota Class A ranks in the javelin, the triple jump, the 110s. The Rough Riders were 7th at state a year ago, and while they don't maybe have the depth yet to make a serious push for a state title, they've really vindicated that number 3 ranking in our April coaches poll. Also, hey, believe the hype about Sioux Falls Lincoln's girls. They really are this season's version of Brandon Valley from a year ago. A few of their young stars have gone from being good to being great. Michaela Moore, Riley Heyer come to mind, plus Jasmine Cooper in the mid-distances, Izzy Van Veldhuizen in the throws. They've solidified their place as the top contenders in their events. We've been saying it for a while now, but this is really a 3-team race in Class AA on the girls' side for a state title.
Those team battles are going to be fun to watch, no question. What about some of the best individual battles that you're seeing emerge to this point?
It's early, but the fight on the boys' side for mid-distance supremacy in the Dakotas is going to be really fun to watch. Probably because nobody has really emerged yet. Sam Wilkie of St. Mary's, David Dowdle of Fargo North, Bo Brandon of Legacy, Sam Klausnitzer of Bismarck, those 4 guys in North Dakota, all within 0.2 of each other in that 158 range. Alex Sturr of Washington, Luke Julian of St. Thomas More, the only 2 South Dakotans to break the 2-minute mark, and that just happened the other day. But there are a lot of guys in SD that are not far off, and coincidentally, the boys' special 200, the boys' special event at the Howard Wood Dakota Relays is the special 8 this year, so that'll be fun.
Interesting. That could shape up to be a really tight race, I'm guessing. Switching gears here. Track meets have been known to provide a little levity now and then. Give us the best non-track related track moments from the week.
Well, 2 things stand out. In Mitchell on Saturday, a roofing crew was shingling a house directly across from the starting line at Joe Quintal Field. You could hear the pop, pop, pop of the staple gun every few seconds. Of all the days to reshingle a house right now, it's staple gun, starter's pistol don't sound exactly alike, but it was a little tough to tell the difference when the nerves are going on the starting block. Nobody officially false started, but I feel like there was some mercy from the officiating crew in this one. And then in fashion news, I couldn't help but notice the sock choice of Beersford's Dylan Ondahl yesterday. At first, I thought these are Nebraska Omaha socks, but closer inspection, yes, those are donuts on his socks. The powdered sugar-inspired attire pushed Ondahl to qualify for state this year in Class A with a 6'1" clearance.
Hey, donuts drive you to success. I guess that's
good for him. Hey, whatever works.
Hey, look at that. Just inside the time. Good work, Alex. Thank you very much. Stay tuned, folks. When we come back, we're going to make our way to the mound. There are a number of talented high school hurlers out there. Find out which ones were good enough to crack Jason's top 10 after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
And welcome back. Well, every pitching staff has an ace, but we wanted to know which guys are the best of the best. Jason Andera's weeded through the numbers to come up with the region's top pitchers. This week he's going to look at South Dakota. Next week it's going to be North Dakota's turn. So Jason, let's have it. Give us South Dakota's top 10 pitchers.
I knew this would be a tough task, Jay, but once I started going through the numbers, I realized there are a lot more than 10 good pitchers, but We got to start somewhere. So at number 10, Isaac Rubendahl of Sioux Falls Lincoln. This guy has shown tremendous growth in his 4 years at Lincoln. He is the definition of a power pitcher who really relies on his competitiveness and work ethic to improve. And the one thing that might be able to move him up on this list is command and control. Once he gets that, he is right up there with the best of the best. At number 9, Bretton Mogan, not only the best hitter for Dells, he is their ace pitcher too. He has recorded a 0.52 ERA last season with 73 Ks. This year he's coming back and been their ace again. He's off to SDSU to pitch next year. At number 8, Mitch Hoover of Brandon Valley, just a junior, had a breakout campaign last season. Just one walk in 28 innings of work. That is control, folks. But he's coming off of an injury, hasn't pitched yet this year, but he still belongs as one of the best in the state. At number 7, I had to combine two guys, Jackson Olson and Spencer Coolwine of Sioux Falls Christian. They are connected. They love working together. They push each other to be the best, not only under their team, but one of the best in the state. Spencer, he was a pitch away from a perfect game earlier this year, and Jackson threw a one-hitter against Garrettson a good team, earlier this season. Both pitchers had a sub-1 ERA last year, and this year, Coolwine, he's pitched 12 innings, only given up one hit, is 2-0, and has 24 Ks. These two are a tremendous combination. At number 6, Kelly O'Brien, the ace of a solid Winter Cologne staff. He has a 1.23 career ERA as a junior, and that number keeps going down. His coach, Drew Weber, says that he has that combination of a little knuckle curve and a four-seam fastball. You never know what he's going to throw on any pitch during the at-bat. At number 5, Chase Corton. He's been the ace of this Bonham Scotland team for years, and he's only a junior this year. Last season, the All-State pitcher pitched 44 Ks in just 29 innings, and he was already part of a combined no-hitter in their opener this year and followed it up with a two-hitter in his second start. At number 4, Tyler Olmstead. He is the other ace at Washington, the senior leader. Tyler is an incredibly smart pitcher. He uses his knowledge of hitters that he's faced in his past to his advantage, and he can throw that heater right in those high 80s, and he can mix a slider and a changeup very effectively. So far this year, 3-0, 20 Ks in his 14 innings. Every game that he's pitched in, Washington has won. At number 3, Pierre has that luxury of having one of the best closers in the state. Quinn Reimers, according to his coach Steve Gray, has that tough guy mentality. He's a great wrestler on the mat, but he's also a great wrestler on the mound. Very tough guy to face. So far this year, he's pitched in 4 relief appearances, recorded 3 saves, has made 16 outs, and of those 16 outs, 12 have been strikeouts. Absolutely dominant. At number 2, the best pitcher in Class B and the best left-handed pitcher on this list, George Icarius. The senior southpaw's ERA was 0.32 last year, gave up just 8 hits all season long while striking out nearly 2 batters per inning. Icarius is headed to Washburn University to pitch next season. And at number 1, the top pitcher, you guessed it, Nolan Burchell of Lincoln. He helped the Pats to a championship as a sophomore. Last season as a junior, 51 strikeouts in just 32 innings, and he led Lincoln to that Final Four state championship appearance. And his coach, Jordan Johnson, says he is the complete package. He's consistently in that 85 to 90 mile an hour range, and he's as good against lefties as he is against righties because he's got such great movement on his ball. The slider and the curve for him are devastating, but maybe his best quality is his calmness. He doesn't get shaken on the mound, and he wins the mental game every time. Nolan is headed to Minnesota to pitch in the Big Ten next season. A lot of good pitchers, Jay.
Yeah, you weren't kidding. That's a pretty impressive list. No doubt that North Dakota's list is going to be as well. And again, Jason's going to unveil that one a week from tonight right here on Varsity Sports. Well, we've seen some shifting in the high school baseball power rankings. Find out which teams are on the rise when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
There has been some moving and shaking in Jason's weekly power rankings in terms of high school baseball. Jason, we spent a lot of time there on South Dakota. Let's focus right now on North Dakota. Who's moving?
Well, the number 1 spot, nobody's safe. Century had been there all season long, but have piled up 4 losses now, and it's just a mess. Look at this, 3 losses, 4 losses. Everybody's got a few losses to start the season, but I think West Fargo right now has been the most consistent team. They've vaulted to number 1. You see Century down to number 4, and then Fargo North didn't get off to a great start, but they're coming on strong lately. Swept Red River, make their first appearance of the year in the top 5.
Who do you like in Class B?
Class B has been crazy too. Beulah suffered their first loss of the season to Shiloh Christian in the second game of a doubleheader. I put more emphasis on that first game, so I keep them at number 1. And then you see Thompson, Carrington, Park River really strong and right on the heels of Beulah. This is a very hotly contested class as well.
Let's bring in the fences a little bit. Talk a little softball for a change.
Yes, softball. We still have 2 undefeated teams in this group. Of course, we've got West Fargo in this group. Just got done with the West Fargo Invite, where some of the best teams from the state participated, and they won all their games there. Another team that won all their games there, Dickinson and Maddie Yonner, did a great job pitching for them. Those 2 teams look like the head of the class when it comes to softball in Class A.
All right, that's a look at the North Dakota Baseball Softball Power Rankings. For more information on South Dakota Baseball, you can either find them right here on the bottom of the screen, or, of course, as you can each and every week, go to midcosn.com, check out Jason's blog for the latest in high school baseball power rankings. All right, well, so we're going to wrap things up with a look at your spring sports outlook after this.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute, Shields, and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
All right, and welcome back. We wrap things up tonight, as we do each and every week during the spring sports season, with a look at our 7-day outlook for spring sports. Jason, what's on the agenda?
Well, we've got to decipher this a little bit. We've got chance to win on the bottom, as you see, for most of them, but chance of rain for the 2 track meets, the Peer American Legion Relays and the Charlie Denton Relays in Bismarck. 0% chance of rain. That's good news for you track fans. And then coming up on Sunday, you see West Fargo softball. They've got a 62% chance to stay undefeated after their big Puller Classic battle up in North St. Paul. And then the rest of these baseball games you see on the list should be tightly contested, but there's a little key to your 7-day plan.
I look forward to that. Looking forward to coming back here, breaking down another week in high school sports in North and South Dakota for you next week here on Varsity Sports. For Jason Andera, Alex Hodder, I'm Jay Elson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.